All right, guys, last shot here. I'm not sure if it's because I put Chasing Lincoln's Killer in the title and because the book is copyrighted and they don't want me giving it out across the internet, even though we own it. Could be used as against publication of releasing the information without somebody buying the book, even though we have a class set back in the classroom. But this might be our only bet that we have. It's been frustrating. I know, Allison. Don't fail me now. I can't even see. I'm getting old, guys. Hi, Kira. I know, Dean. I thought the same thing. I didn't think it was going to be an issue at all. I do plenty of read alouds from YouTube. Never happened before, so I don't know what the issue is. I'm going to contact them, but we obviously don't have time to hear from them now. They won't get back to me right away, and I want to see if we can get this going. I hope it works too. I'm glad Bobby has some food. That's important. I already ate, so it doesn't bother me at all. Kavanaugh, okay. Last chance. Okay, Maddie Johnson is back. Great to see you, Maddie. Don't need that. 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 I got an email from YouTube. Let me see what this says. Flag to us review. Am I still on, guys? They kick us off. All right. It just says it was a copyright infringement. I guess it's about the book. So, okay. So, more food. I need some. Christian, you go eat, man. Drive me crazy. Yeah, every chapter worked. I don't know if they're still working though. They might have flagged them all. They might have said they're all are not good. So they might not be there anymore. I might have to just do the whole read aloud through another way. Send you food through the screen. I got nothing, buddy. I got nothing. I don't even have nothing. I had Big Newtons before. I don't know where they went. My kids stealing all my food. Okay, let's get all the sidebar. Let's get everything focused on school real quick because we don't have all day. The Google Docs with social studies. When you go to the classroom and you did the questions that went with it, if I go to classwork and I go to social studies with a Canada question, right? And I type in assignment, view assignment, you had to read those pages, and then you clicked on the lesson. Now, if you just click on the lesson, your first question is, what's your name? Name the 6 physical regions. What does Canada shield? Blah, 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 blah. When you're done with that, you hit submit. That's great. That goes right to me. Okay, does everyone understand that? Guys, pay attention to what we're talking about over here so you understand. Okay, guys? So, but also, once you're done with that part, please go back into the assignment. And you're going to have on the right, if you hit view assignment, on the right, it's going to say hand in. You're going to click that. It just proves to me that you're handed in. I'm trying to figure out how to connect it where it's just going to be one step. But right now, you have to make sure you're handed in. If you're having troubles, email me or text, do the screenshot, and I'll talk to you about it. I know Ali and I were trying to work through some of the issues she was having with it. I don't know. I lost her though. I don't know, Leah. Okay. Anyway, so that's that. Number 2, every day you're going to get an assignment load on the side of your page of what you're going to do. We're not going live ever. We can't go live. There's just no ability to do it. I'll do lessons. I'll give you assignments, and you have a day to do them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one day social studies, and the next day is going to be science. Every day we're going to do math. Every day we're going to do writing. Every day we're going to do reading. Okay? Science and social studies will rotate. You should be going outside, get some exercise. I know Miss Bonica said some art stuff for you. You do that. But it's not going to be an overwhelming day for you. You do what we assign. If you want to do more reading and writing, you do it. That's fine. But what we don't want is if I assign something that you do it all in one day, because then you're not learning. You're just rushing through your work. So every morning you'll wake up, there's going to be assignments for you to do that day. I know you're excited. I was amazed this morning how many of you contacted me. Awesome. Awesome. Only thing you needed to do is, number 1, you had a hand in the Chapter 8 math test. 4 of you still owe me that test. Once I have all 4, I'm going to grade them and send them back to you. That's number one. Number two, math assignment, 2 pages. Remember, you don't have to print anything out. You could get a piece of loose leaf, do the questions on loose leaf, snap a picture of it, put it into your Google Drive, and then add it to your assignment. It gets sent right to me. I'm going to grade it and send it back. Number 3, Christian, pay attention. Number 3, the social studies. There was a 2-step process. You had 3 steps. You had to read all the pages, right? Then you had to answer the questions in the Google Doc form. You actually click the Google Doc form, open it up, type it in, then hit submit on the Google Doc form. But once that's done, you have to go back to your assignment page. Adonis and I worked our way through this today. Well done, Adonis, if you're here. Then you click hand in the right side of the assignment page. You'll see it. It's blue, I believe. Click it. Click hand in. This means it registers that I got your assignment. Kira, I got yours. You did it perfectly. Well done. Okay, is everybody good with that? We look like this video is going off pretty well. So far, so good. Any other questions? Type them in there over there. Otherwise, Ms. Bonica sent a link, guys, a code to her classroom. I will re-put it up there today, and then you just put join class, and you type in the code, and then you'll see what grade 5 has for you. Mr. Nelson also did the same thing. Did you get Mr. Nelson and Ms. Bonica? You should have signed up for both of those classes so far. I heard Ms. Mangello was doing something with the clubs too. I don't know. I already have student council clubs in here. I'm not worried about them right now until this goes any longer. Then we'll start talking about what we're going to do for student council. But did I get your social studies, Julia? I'm going to let you know about that in a second. I'll tell you right now whose social studies I got if you did everything the right way. Let's see. Social studies, Canada. Where are you? Canada. Canada. Come on, Calvin. I'll figure this out. 9 people turned it in. Okay, the people that did everything right. Adonis, Christian, Daniel, Jack, Julia Ferrioli, Julia Madonna, Kira Maya, Matt Johnson, Ryan Ellis. Those are the people that did their job perfectly. If I didn't say your name, that means you need to, if you did it, you need to go into the assignment page and click handed in. So all you have to do. Do not open the Google Doc again if you already did it. Okay, that's very important. Okay, did you get my math test? I handed it in yesterday. Is stuff going to be due on days from other teachers? I'm not in Ms. Bonica's Google Classroom yet. Okay. I'm going to put up, when we're done with this today, I'm going to add Bonica and Nelson's code so you can make sure you get into those classrooms. You just have to add the digits and you're going to be automatically in. Is there work on the weekends? No. No. Since we had this week started, tomorrow we're going in again. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Most classes for all your friends are going to start tomorrow. We want to do a test run today. I thought it went pretty good. Hoping that we get it done a little bit better. I'm going to get the invitations, Bob. Let it go. I'm going to send it out to everybody. Everybody's going to get it. It's going to be on the site. Okay. As soon as we're done here. Nelson and Bonica. Okay, perfect. It does not say hand in. Matt, it does say hand in or submit or something like that. I was on it. Only if you click on assignment and you see everything that you need, you see the workbooks, look to the right, all the way to the right. And it will tell you either like maybe it says your grade or it says other things on the information on the side. Let's see. I'll check. People that just handed it in. We got 2 more handed it in. Brianna, yes, you did it. Well done. Still no Maddie C, though. Yes, I thought so, Julia. I know it does. I've seen it. You guys just got to open your eyes. No, I don't think. Yeah, I think Steam, too. Yeah, Julia. I think we're going to have stuff for that, too. We'll find out. You guys just got to be diligent. You got to look around. You got to make sure you put your names on things. There's always going to be a spot for your name. All these little things you got to do to help me because it's definitely crazy. I'm not a computer guy. You know that. So I'm learning. Bueno. Very good. We will get it done. Now, listen, if you're still having issues, have your mom give me a call, mom or dad or grandpa, whoever, give me a call, and together with mom and dad and grandpa, whoever's there, we'll FaceTime and we'll talk you through it. Because I want to make sure you get it right. That's the important part. All right. Is there work Friday? Yes, Ryan, there's work Monday through Friday. We are going full-fledged school right now. We are in school. All right. We're going to try to read in the afternoons, give yourself some morning to get your work done, and that's it. We have school Monday through Friday, and you'll have the weekends to do whatever work you need to make up on, but I will not be assigning things. I will be available to you. If you want to text me a message, you have a question, I'm available always to you, but there's not going to be any new assignments Monday through Friday. Okay, I got a bunch of people sending me messages here still, so let me just check these. And then we're going to get started. We're going to read a few pages today. 18 notifications. You guys are going off the hook right now. Let's see what I got here. Beautiful, Matty Johnson. Yes. YouTube, Ava. What has Ava got for me here? What is it now? Ava. Is Ava in this group? Where's Ava? Do we get Ava? Ava, you there? Oh, Ava's there. Okay, good. All right, guys, we're going to get started. So let's keep all the chatter. And remember, you guys are so great on the side of this. Do the same thing on the Google Classroom. Type it in. And so many of you type me a question, I give you an answer, and you disappear. So I have no idea if it worked or not for you. So wait for the answer. I'm going to be around. My phone is alerting me. If I'm not on my computer at that moment, it might be 5 minutes, but don't disappear for the whole day. Oh, Bree says something. Okay. Chapter 5. Bobby needed a quick recap. Bobby, here's Jason Lincoln's killer in a quick recap. Civil War is ending. John Wilkes Booth is in Washington, in New York, around all the celebrations of the South being defeated. He's angry. He's such a believer in the South and everything they stood for. He's a racist. He hates everything about the North. So the North, everyone's celebrating around the North. So he's getting a little crazy. He's getting a little angry. So he's constantly around it. So then he decides that he's going to make a plan. He finds out that Lincoln's going to be at a play that night, right where he is in Washington. He gets his 4 buddies. They get a plan together. They're going to attack Washington on this night. This guy, George Azardot, is assigned to kill the vice president. Lewis Powell and David Harold are assigned to kill the Secretary of State. And John Wilkes Booth is assigned to kill the president. Okay? Long story short, everything goes on. Booth gets into Lincoln's presidential booth, shoots him in the back of the head, escapes, jumps down off the stage, lands, snaps his ankle. Escapes Washington City, though, was able to get out of the theater and then get out of Washington, even though he should have never gotten out of Washington. And now he's on his way to Virginia. He's in Maryland. Then you have Lewis Powell and David Harold. David Harold is the guide for Lewis Powell. Lewis Powell is instructed to go kill the Secretary of State, who's at his house because he was in a bad carriage accident. It's mayhem. He doesn't succeed. David Harold gets scared. He leaves Lewis Powell there. Lewis Powell causes a lot of injuries and a lot of blood and a lot of pain, but nobody's dying. Nobody died. So Lewis Powell then takes off and leaves. George Azardot never even tried to kill the vice president. He's out. He didn't want to do it. So he just left. Nobody knew where he went. David Harold, by trying to escape, he also got out of Washington, and he meets up with Booth in Maryland. Lewis Powell doesn't know how to get out of Washington, so this banana is sleeping in a tree for 2 days. He remembers that he has one place that he remembers where it was. He just doesn't remember the address, so he's chilling out in a tree. All while this is going on, Lincoln is being taken from the theater to a house across the street so he can die with dignity. Okay, guys? So here we are. We pick up today, chapter 5. My allergies are kicking my butt. Sneezing and coughing all day. Okay. Chapter 5. I'm on that chapter 6. It's a long chapter. We're going to break it up into 2 parts. We'll read today and tomorrow. Okay. Riding in open country, about 10 miles south of Washington, John Wilkes Booth and David Herold would soon reach their own safe house. They did not expect any trouble along the road. They did not meet any soldiers as they rode towards Soren's Tavern. If they did, there was no danger because they were riding ahead of the news of the assassination. At that moment, Booth could safely ride past an entire regiment of Union cavalry. Not a soul in Maryland knew yet that Abraham Lincoln had been shot. Within a few moments of the assassination, the news began spreading, first by word of mouth from Ford's, then by messenger. It traveled no faster than a man could run on foot or ride on horseback. Between 10:30 and 11 o'clock p.m., more than 1,500 people spilled out from the... Can't read that. From the theater onto the streets. They fanned out in all directions like an unpaid army of newsboys shouting, "Extra, extra!" Block by block, they spread the news. Men ran or galloped to the White House, the War Department, and the homes of the cabinet officers. They rushed home and... I got to get the lights on, guys. It's a little dark. Excuse me. I apologize for that bright sunlight in the background. I didn't want that to be blinding you, but let me see if I can shift it. Oh, there we go. Oh, that would have been smarter. Okay, so cabinet officers, they rushed home and wakened family members, knocked on neighbors' doors, roused children from their beds, spreading the news. Washington was used to getting important news this way. Tonight, like an inferno burning outward in all directions from a single ignition point, the news that Lincoln had been shot spread from Ford's in an ever-widening circle. A few blocks from Ford's, word of another apparent assassination spread from the Seward's mansion and into the streets. Neighbors, soldiers, State Department employees, and even some reporters tried to enter the Seward house. Messengers fanned out in all directions, shouting about the Seward assassination. Just as the news spread from Ford's of the president's assassination, it was only a matter of time before the two groups, bringing word of separate attacks, met in the streets. The same words were exchanged countless times that night. "No, I tell you, it was Lincoln who was assassinated." "Impossible. It was Seward. I just came from his house." "And I just came from Ford's. It was Lincoln who was killed. It was Seward. Lincoln." Now you can imagine they're like, there's no way that there was 2 assassinations at the same time. You must have heard the wrong information. Lincoln was killed. The guy's like, "No, you must have heard the wrong thing because I was just there. It was Seward." There's no way that both were killed, but it was the Booth's plan for both to happen at the same time. Then the terrible truth emerged. It was both of them. Though unknown at the time, Seward still lived. Both men were attacked. The false information that Seward had been killed would continue to be spread through word of mouth. At 13th and K Street, someone rang the bell at the home of Secretary of War Edmund M. Stanton. A brilliant man with a long record of public service, the president placed in his capable hands the most demanding tasks of the war: raising, training, equipping, and sending into the battle all Union soldiers. Creating that army was the largest organizational achievement in American history up to that time. Stanton weeded out unfit and incompetent officers, battled dishonest government contractors who sold the army low-quality uniforms, rotting equipment, and defective weapons, and endured an epidemic of officers who would not fight. If any man sat at Lincoln's right hand during the war, it was Edmund Stanton. So this guy was just the boss of all bosses. He got everybody in line. This was the man that was controlling everything. Stanton had been among those to turn down the president's invitation to join him and Mary at Ford's Theater tonight. Instead, he left his office at the War Department and went home to dinner with his wife. Around 8 o'clock p.m., not long before the curtain rose at Ford's, Stanton left the house to visit his friend, William H. Seward, at his sickbed. Ever since the carriage accident Seward had suffered, Stanton had been a faithful visitor. He returned home about an hour later. So you figure 8 o'clock he went, Got there about 8:30, stayed for about an hour, got there home about like 9:15. Seward was attacked at about 10 o'clock. Pretty crazy. After he bid some visiting officers good night, he closed his front door and locked it. It was 10 o'clock p.m. He walked upstairs and began undressing for bed. Not long after the doorbell rang, his wife, still downstairs, unlocked and opened the door. If she had known about the murderous events of the evening, she most likely would not have opened the door. When she heard the, as it turned out, incorrect news from the messenger, she shouted, "Mr. Seward is murdered!" Her cry reached her husband upstairs, who did not believe what he had heard. "Humbug," he shouted down. "I left him only an hour ago." Stanton, still doubting, came downstairs. He found the messenger and several other agitated men. Alarmed by their manner and their story, he decided to ride over to Seward home to investigate the rumor of Seward's death personally. The ride to the Seward house took only a few moments, and the first sign was not good. People filled the street and crowded around Seward's front door. An hour ago, when Stanton had left, the street was deserted. Stanton arrived moments before the Secretary of Navy, Gideon Welles, reached Seward's house. A Navy Department messenger shouted unwelcome and, again, inaccurate news. President Lincoln had been shot, and Secretary Seward and his son Frederick had been assassinated. We talk about falsifying information or saying things before you know they're true. You should always know it's true before you spread the rumor. Don't ever spread rumors. It's not a rumor if it's true. People saying that Seward was dead, that was not true. And unfortunately, even made the newspapers the next day that he was shot. Not good. Always know what you're talking about before you say it. Just because it's said doesn't mean it's true. "Where," asked Welles, "was the president shot?" "At Ford's Theater," the messenger replied, adding that the Sewards had been attacked at home. "The rebels," Welles cursed. "This is their work." He walked with the messenger to Seward's house. Stanton, just behind Welles, charged up the stairs to Seward's bedroom. It was true. A scene of mayhem replaced the calm that Stanton had seen a little more than an hour ago. The bed was saturated with blood. Several doctors hovered over the bloody Secretary of State, working to save his life. Fanny Seward was wandering like a pale ghost, her dress dripping with blood. That was not all. Augustus Seward, one of the sons, had been stabbed, and his brother Frederick was unconscious from a crushed skull. Brave Sergeant Robinson had endured multiple stab wounds. Recovering from their initial shock, Stanton and Welles realized that there was nothing they could do for the victims. It was in their hands of the doctors and God. They turned their thoughts to the president and the rest of the cabinet. Stanton gave orders to rush military guards to the home of every member of the cabinet and to Vice President Johnson's bed. Without guards or army escorts, despite the danger that might still lurk in Washington, Stanton and Welles rode in a carriage to Ford's Theater. As the carriage clipped along, it passed men and women running crazily in all directions. The closer they got to Ford's, the thicker the crowds became. As the carriage turned down F Street, it approached a roaring, angry mob of thousands of people swarming in the street in front of Ford's. On 10th Street, Dr. Leal ordered Lincoln's bearers to head straight for the man with the candle standing at the top of the stairs at the Peterson House. The soldiers carried the president up the curved staircase. In this elevated position, the near lifeless body of Abraham Lincoln became visible to the entire crowd gathered around. In awe, the people watched as the president disappeared into the boarding house. Except for a favorite handful of doctors, government officials, and family friends who would enter the Peterson House, that glimpse of the president ascending the stairs was the last time Americans saw Abraham Lincoln alive. Remember, he's alive because he's breathing. He had no brain activity. He was dead the second the bullet went into his head. Almost 13 miles out of Washington, Booth and Herold approached their destination, Saranceville, Maryland. The town was small, little more than a crossroad outpost, named after the family that owned the tavern there. Before they could continue on their escape south, the fugitives had business at the tavern. They would pick up the shooting irons Mary Surratt had ordered Mr. Lloyd to get ready that afternoon. Surratt's place was hard to spot at night. The plain two-story structure was unpainted, and the dull wood boards reflected no moonlight. The tavern had served three functions: a saloon, an inn, and a post office. In 1864, Mary Surratt, under a cloud of suspicion over her husband's loyalty to the Union, had moved her family to Washington, D.C. boarding house and rented the tavern to John Lloyd. The tavern operated as a typical 19th century roadside establishment. It was divided into private and public spaces. Paying customers entered not through the front door, but through a side door that led directly into the bar and post office. The room smelled like wax candles, oil, lamps, tobacco, burning stove wood, whiskey, dirty clothes, and leather boots. Drink and meal prices were posted on a wall and chalked on a board. Nighttime callers were not unusual. Booth and Harold rode their horses to the side entrance. The night was still. Inside the tavern was quiet and dark. They had to make this quick. Harold dismounted and walked to the door while Booth remained in the saddle. They had no time to waste, and it would hurt Booth too much to dismount and put weight on his foot. Harold's pounding fist finally roused the innkeeper, John Lloyd, who climbed out of bed and went downstairs and opened the side door. He recognized David Harold's friend, John Sarant. Okay, hold on a second here. I wasn't updating my comments. Let me see. Oh, I missed a lot. Let me catch you guys up here. Bano, I saw nothing to stay. We should do a live stream. Just talking. I agree. Talking is fun. Social studies due tomorrow night. Yes, it is tomorrow night. Correct. You're gonna have about 48 hours due before you sign it, but let's focus only on this reading, please. Christian, I agree with you. He should be fired. I don't know if he was, but that's something we're going to find out. Bright light. Sorry, Bobby. Dean, Soul Studies is due tomorrow night. Absolutely. You don't have to hand it in tonight. I'd like you to do it. It's not much, but it's up to you. As long as I have it by tomorrow night, it's fine. Okay, back to the reading. Sorry, guys. I don't know why my comments weren't updated. 30 minutes in already. We've been hanging out. Okay. To dismount the innkeeper, John Lloyd. He recognized David Harold, a friend of John Sarant. Harold, impatient, hissed at him. Lloyd, for goodness sake, make haste and get those things for me. Harold did not have time to be more specific. Lloyd knew what they wanted. After Mary Sarant's afternoon visit, he took the shooting irons from their hiding places so they would be ready for their callers. Lloyd returned in a moment, bearing a small package wrapped in twine, the binoculars, and a loaded Spencer repeating carbine, just a gun. Booth would further arm himself when he picked up pistols at his next stop. As Harold and Booth prepared to ride away, Booth could not resist the temptation to brag. The impulsive actor had to tell someone of his achievement or he would burst. He told Lloyd, I am pretty certain that we had assassinated the president and Secretary Seward. Lloyd watched the pair ride off into the night, not understanding exactly what Booth had meant. He went back to bed. Booth and Harold had spent less than 5 minutes in Surransville. They continued to the southeast for an unplanned but necessary detour. Booth's leg was throbbing painfully. He needed a doctor, and he knew just where to find one. 4-hour ride away. At the Pedersen house, Abraham Lincoln would soon have more doctors than he can ever want, but little use for any of them. Abraham Lincoln's body was carried into the dim hallway that led to the rear of the boarding house. As the bearers shuffled along through the tight passageway, they passed the parlors and stepped into the back room. The boarder who rented the room was out for the evening, celebrating the end of the war. Leal examined the small room with a bed, its headboard wedged into the corner. He glanced around the room. This place would have to do. Chasing after the president, Mary Todd Lincoln, followed by Clara Harris and Major Rathbone, with Laura Keene trailing close behind. Remember Laura Keene, right? The actress? She's still with them. She's still hanging out. Exactly. Unbelievable. Wringing her hands, Mrs. Lincoln pleaded, "Where is my husband? Where is my husband?" To no one in particular. In the back bedroom, only one person mattered now. Someone tore back the bedding. Someone else turned up the valve of the gas jet coming out of the wall. In an instant, the hissing, burning gas vapor lit the grotesque scene. The others laid the unconscious body across the mattress. Mary Todd Lincoln burst into the room. and the bright gaslight confirmed to her that this was not a nightmare, as she hoped it was. This was real. The air in the room was warm and moist, with too many people in it competing for the oxygen from the air. Leo ordered the windows opened and everyone but the doctors to leave the room. Mrs. Lincoln hovered over her husband. Leo gently encouraged her to leave the room and wait in the front parlor. Alone with the patient, the doctors worked quickly, removing the president's clothes. Julia, there's no way I could look, but she needed to see for herself. She had hoped it was a nightmare. She had hoped that he was alive, some kind of sign of life. She was hoping. And then when she saw what she saw, it was sad. Sad day for the country, but extremely sad for her. Strangers slipped into the Pedersen house before guards could post at the door. People invading the house inched their way down the hallway, closer to Lincoln. If someone did not take command of the situation soon, the house would be in chaos. Stanton's carriage came to a stop, unable to get through the crowd. If they could not drive through, they would walk. On foot, in the dark, in the midst of thousands of people. Anything could happen that night. Indeed, it already had. But now Stanton and Wells exited the carriage, headed into the mob, and vanished from sight. The doctors examined Lincoln's body for knife or gunshot wounds, but found nothing other than a bullet hole in his head. The president's feet and legs were already getting cold, because now there's no blood going through. There's no commands from the brain to tell the body to produce the blood, to move the blood. So it's just a matter of time. The eyelids were so filled with blood that they looked bruised, like someone had punched the president in the face. All signs were consistent with a catastrophic injury into the brain. The surgeons covered Lincoln's body with a sheet and blankets. His breathing was regular but heavy, interrupted with an occasional sigh. They laid a clean white napkin over the bloodstains on the pillow. They placed a small chair at the head of the bed near Lincoln's face. Now the president was ready for Mary to see him again. Leo sent an officer to fetch her. She rushed into the room and sat beside her husband. Love, live but for one moment, to speak to me once, to speak to our children. Lincoln was deaf to her pleas. She sat there and begged him to open his eyes. Begged him that she could see his eyes open again and for him to speak to her once more. But we all know that wasn't possible. With the president's medical condition stable for the moment, he is alive, Bob. He's breathing, but he's brain dead. It's just a matter of time before the breathing stops. Okay, bud? With the president's medical condition stable for the moment, Dr. Leo sent messengers. Oh, I read that already. No. Dr. Leo sent messengers to fetch Robert Todd Lincoln, the president's eldest son. Surgeon General Joseph K. Barnes, Lincoln's family physician, another surgeon, and the president's pastor, the Reverend Dr. Phineas Day Gurley. Leo sent a hospital steward in search of a special piece of medical equipment, a Neelanton probe that was work to do inside Lincoln's brain. So what's happening now is they're sending for the son, for his preacher, for anyone who knows him close, basically to say their final goodbyes. The doctor's looking for something to be able to work inside the head to try to get the bullet out. The last chance effort, maybe, to stop him. Don't cry, Julia. I know how you get. I almost cried too, don't worry. Ignoring the danger of the surging crowd, Stanton pushed through up the stairs and into the back bedroom of the Pedersen house. The sight of the president shocked him. He did not need doctors to tell him what would happen. Abraham Lincoln was going to die. And there was nothing the doctors could do about it. But he could do something for the president. He could protect and defend the country. Stanton took charge, making the back parlor of the Pedersen house his field office. He would not return to the War Department yet, but would remain here. Stanton believed that Lincoln and Seward's assassination had exposed a Confederate plot to kill the leaders of the national government in an attempt to reverse the results of the Civil War. So the government, now the United States government, is thinking this wasn't Booth or, they think that they're all part of the Confederate States plan. Confederate, they had nothing to do with it. It was Booth's plan. That's it. But the government is thinking this is much bigger than that. But it's not the case. Good question, Julie. We had asked that before. Doctors today could not help him. They couldn't help him. A gunshot wound at close range is a gunshot wound at close range. He's brain dead. Correct, Brianna. Great questions, though. And Bobby, speak English. Yes, Allison. It's a brutal way to go. Okay. Okay, let's see. At the cabinet member, that moment. Okay. Stanton wanted his commanding general, Ulysses S. Grant, back in Washington. He sent a telegram to order Grant back to Washington at once. It was the first telegram issued from the temporary War Department headquarters at the Pedersen House. Stanton ordered troops to turn out into the streets, the guards to be doubled, military forts to be alert, guns manned, and special guards to be posted around the old Capitol prison. Clear away the mob from the street in front of the house, Stanton ordered. Soldiers tried to push back the crowd from around the foot of the staircase. The immediate area secured, Stanton turns to his second mission, launching the investigation into the crimes that occurred at Ford's and at the Seward House. He was determined to catch the criminals. He made it clear he was in charge. Later, when Vice President Johnson arrived, he doesn't realize Johnson has no idea how close he was to him dying. At the deathbed, he remained in the background and chose not to take charge. In the days to follow, newly sworn-in President Johnson left it to Stanton to bring Lincoln's killers and his accomplices to justice. Stanton had witness from Ford's Theater brought before him. One witness after another swore it was John Wilkes Booth who had shot the president. All right, guys, now we're going to get control of our side comments. Let's make sure we're focusing and we're listening. Okay, all comments and questions are great, but let's focus. Stanton now has taken over the government. Even though the Vice President Johnson is sworn in, Stanton was the one that ruled the government at this point. He was the one that was going to catch anyone associated with this terrible night. It was his job. Bobby, we good? Let's focus on what we're doing. Stanton's operators could wire news and order news all over the country, and soon telegraph lines across the nation were announcing the news. The president had been assassinated and the Secretary of State attacked. Messengers were telegraphed to Baltimore, New York, and beyond. Search the trains, guard the bridges. Orders were sent to the commanders in the field in Virginia, chasing down leads based on early but false information Stanton received from tipsters. In need of help at 1 o'clock in the morning on April 15th, Stanton sent a request to the chief of police in New York City, asking him to send his best detectives to assist in the investigation. It has to be said, Kira, honestly, because it's true. It's a true-to-life history story. This actually happened. Between this and the John F. Kennedy assassination in the 60s, there's two of the saddest moments in our country's history. But it's important for you guys to understand it and learn it and really be part of what went on. And so you understand where we came from as Americans, our history. Very important. He continued to expand the search, activating manhunters in Delaware, Pennsylvania. Booth was identified to detectives as the assassin. So they know. Now the government knows John Wilkes Booth is the one they're looking for. And he's not so easy to hide because people know who he is. Orders were sent to cover possible water escape routes. Cavalry rode to the rivers to intercept anyone who attempted to cross. Fishermen along the river were notified to keep watch for Booth. The hunt had begun. Matt, what if it happened now? Gosh, it could. There's crazy people out in the world. The presidents and our leaders are much, much more protected than Lincoln was. Much more protected, believe it or not, than Kennedy was. But, what would have happened today? I'm guessing there's no way someone's getting away like Booth did. That's what I would tell you. That's the main difference. If it happened today, the person would be captured right away. That's what I gather. In the Kennedy and the Lincoln, they weren't captured right away. So, back in Washington, Army Major General Halleck made plans to imprison the assassins when they were caught. I can't believe we're flying through this book so quickly. Let me see where this chapter is. If Booth was captured, the army would have to protect him from Lincoln's Avengers, rampaging mobs of vigilantes who might storm the old Capitol prison. If they discovered Booth was jailed there, it was too risky to imprison Booth anywhere on land. Halleck issued an order. If the assassins are caught, put them in the double irons and take them to the commander of the Washington Navy Yard, who will confine them to a monitor warship anchored there. The river would protect Booth from the angry citizens of Washington. Now, all they had to do was catch John Wilkes Booth. So we're going to stop there for today. We have about 10 pages left in chapter 5. Bobby, they send out special forces to get him now. That's who's looking for him, special forces. Important to think, though. I want you to think about this. The government, the government had plans. If they captured Booth, they were worried that if they just put him in a regular prison, that the people would be so angry they would storm the prison and capture him and basically kill him themselves without having justice. Now remember, what is justice? Justice means court. And people that are in charge of that department of our government, they decide the penalty for Booth. The people, yeah, maybe they want to kill Booth. They loved Lincoln. But it wasn't their job. Their job is not for justice. The government had to do justice. So what they said was, once we catch Booth, we can't put him in a prison on land. We're going to put him on a warship and put him out at sea until his trial. And that's what it comes down to. I would love to keep reading, guys, but it's after 5. I got my kids' work still to do, and I promised them I'd go out and shoot some hoops. They don't know what they're in for. I'm going to hit every single shot. We know that, but they'll deal with it. They'll deal with losing because I'm going to win. Listen to me. Get your classwork done. Follow instructions. If you don't understand something, send a message, and we'll take care of it. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock, part 2 of chapter 5. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.